Hey Year 8, this lesson we're going to be looking at expanding algebraic expressions. Now we just finished working with index laws, so you kind of need to go back and think about simplifying expressions. We learnt how to add and subtract algebraic expressions with like terms. We learnt how to multiply and divide. Now we're going to be learning how to do what's called expanding algebraic expressions using something special called the distributive law, and you'll see that over and over again in high school. Couple of first basic questions. What does expand mean? Okay, well, if we're going to expand something, I think that means we're going to make it bigger. Okay, well, that's what I think it means. But what do expanding algebraic expressions mean? Let's have a think about this. So let's just say we have a rectangle. Here it is over here. Okay, with length 2a plus 5 and breadth 3. If I want to work out the area of this rectangle, I have to do 3 times that value. Okay, and this is what it looks like when I squash it together in algebra. Okay, now I can then split that rectangle into two smaller ones. Okay, I can have 2a and the 5 separately, and I can then multiply across those. So if I do 3 times 2a, that gets me to 6a, and if I do 3 times 5, that gets me to 15. Okay, and so what I end up with is 3 times 2a plus 3 plus 5, which gives me 6a plus 15. But because the areas are equal, this up here and this here, all I need to do to remove the grouping symbols in an algebraic expression is to multiply each term inside by the term outside, and that's what we call expanding. Okay, let me explain that more to you because it's probably a bit confusing at the moment. What's a distributive law? Well, the distributive law says if you've got something out the front of brackets, you times the two things inside by what's outside to get the solution. Okay, so a brackets b plus c. Okay, in algebra, brackets usually mean times, and when we're expanding a bracket or expanding an expression, it's usually written in what we call factorized form. And factorized form just means it's written as a product, okay, as a multiplication. And when we expand that, what we're doing is a times b plus c. And we're literally doing a times b, which is ab, plus a times c, which is ac. So how do we expand algebraic expressions? And I want you to give your own example. So what we do is, to expand algebraic expressions, we multiply the term outside the brackets by everything inside. For example, here's my example. I don't want you to use my example, I want you to make your own. For example, if I have 4 times x plus 2, well, when I expand that, what happens is I do 4 times x and 4 times 2. 4 times x is 4x, it's a plus sign, and 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so that's my example. You make up your own. Let's have a look at some examples together, because it gets tricky when they add in like negative signs and things like that. Okay, first example, 3 brackets 2x minus 4. Now that means 3 times 2x minus 4. So I'm going to do 3 times the 2x and 3 times minus 4. 3 times 2x, well that's 6x. And 3 times minus 4 is minus 12, and that's my answer. Not a lot of working. In fact, most of it just gets done in your head. Next one, d times 3d. Well, I've got 3, and d times d is d squared. Plus, because there's a plus sign, d times 5 is 5d. We always write the number before the letter, never the letter before. So always the pronumeral is after the number. Question C, even trickier because look, there's a negative out here this time. So negative 2 times 3, negative 6, and I've got an n to add on to it from here. Negative 2 times negative 5 is plus 10, and I've got n squared to add on. Okay. You'll get harder questions that look like this, and there's a lot of good examples in your textbook that we'll have a go in class together. M times m times 3. So expand and simplify, I'm going to get m squared plus 3m. Then I've got a minus here, so minus 5 times m minus 5 times minus 2. So minus 5 times m is minus 5m, and minus 5 times minus 2 is plus 10, because remember when we're multiplying, okay, do you remember the rules from early on in this topic? When multiplying or dividing, basically we've got these rules. Okay, if you're timesing or dividing a positive by a positive, you get a positive. Positive or negative, negative or positive, both of those will give you a negative, and two negatives times or divided together give you a positive answer. So you need to remember those rules from back early on. We haven't finished this because the question said expand then simplify. So we need to collect like terms. So I've got m squared, there's no other squared things and m's. Then I've got 3m minus 5m. Now 3 take away 5 is minus 2m. And I've got plus 10 at the end. Okay, so what I want you to do is write a summary of what you learned, any questions you have, as well as a hot question, and bring your work with you to class. So what we learned how to do today is learn about something called the distributive law, which helps us expand algebraic expressions. See you in class.